Dear Newtek, this is an open video letter to the creators of Lightwave 3D to address some of the issues I have with the software. Some things I wish were changed and things that features I wish were added or stolen from other pieces of software. Number one problem I have, the way Lightwave handles rotations drives me insane. Okay, so here's an object and it's set to the parent coordinate system, which is Lightwave's standard system. And as you can see, just by moving it this much, already I've locked out these two channels. You can't select them and move it side to on its bank because it's been gimbal locked. All right. So in order to overcome that, if you were to go to, let's go ahead and animate this. If you were to go to the local system, Shift F7, and move it, now you can see that the gimbal lock does not happen, because this is the way you would expect it to work. The handles always rotate with the object so that they're always in the same position and you can always select them. Alright, but when we go to animate this, let me go ahead and move this down a little bit. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So as you can see, if you animate this, it completely does not work the way you expect it to. You would expect it to animate just down on the pitch, because that was the only thing we touched, was the pitch. Alright, that doesn't work right. Now compare that to Blender, for example. Alright, let me get a timeline going here. Alright, and I'll insert a key, and then we'll go to a different frame here, and we'll go to local system. Alright, now as you can see, it does that. It animates on the pitch, or in this case the heading or whatever, and looks fine. And then even if we go and change the system to view system or something like that, alright, you'll see that it animates the way you would expect it to. Alright, if we go back to the local system and watch it, you'll see that the local handles always travel with the object, and it never does that where it will spin 360 to get to where it's going. Alright, so that other software, I know there's some mathematical reason for this. People try to explain it to me, but the fact is that other software doesn't do this, or at least it doesn't do it I've ever found when I need it to animate. Alright, so that's one thing I really wish was fixed. Alright, the other thing that's driving me kind of crazy here, let me load a complex scene. Alright, so we have a scene here with a bunch of characters. Oops, the IK has been turned off. Alright, so we have a couple characters standing around. These are Zerglings from StarCraft, if you're wondering. Alright, so let's go back to the beginning frame and turn on the bone x-ray so you can see all the different items here. Let's say that I need this bone here to have that IK target as its a goal object. So I'll bring up the motion options, and it's right there. I should be able to just select it. Maybe a target icon here, or a little eyedropper tool. Click on the eyedropper and then click on the target, and it would load it into the goal object. But the only thing we have right now is a drop down. And as you can see, with just 3 characters, how complex this drop down gets. Alright, I mean, look at all that stuff. That's just a few characters. And where was that thing I was looking for again? Was it this one? I can't remember. Alright, so having the drop down is fine, but having another option with the drop down would be even better. Alright, the other problem I have is that the undo feature doesn't seem to work all the time. It only works for some items and not others. So for example, I can address 2 things at once. Let's say I wanted to pitch correct. Let's say this thing was all out of whack and I wanted to alright, let's say it's not pitched correctly and we want to pitch correct this. Alright, so I hit Shift P, alright, and you'll see that the pitch correction has happened. But let's say we need to go back for some reason. Control Z, undo, no actions to undo. So some things you can undo and some things you can't, and there's nothing that tells you which things to undo and which ones don't. Also, the pitch correction I was telling you about let's all right, I can't even move objects now. I wonder what's happening there. All right. But the pitch correction that I was showing you before, you can't do it on the entire object. You would have to go in, Shift P, down arrow, Shift P, down arrow, Shift P, Shift P, Shift P. All right, I have written a script in Lightwave 9.3 or something that did that to all the bones in an object, but it doesn't work in the new version of Lightwave. I don't know why. So I don't know if there's a way to get the pitch correction to be done universally on all the objects, all the items of an object, if you wanted to. So that's some of the main stuff. Another thing is, I don't know why there's not a tool in layout for animating characters on a path. Why can't we draw a curve and then have the characters walk along that curve with a path constraint? The only way you can do it now is to create a path in Modeler, load it in here, make sure it matches everything. Go back and forth when you need to edit it back between Modeler and this. That can get to be a real hassle really quickly. A feature that I wish we would steal from other pieces of software. All right, let's go in here and select that. Oh, also the did I mention the rotation handles and stuff? Look here. For one thing, you can select a universal tool. You can do translation and scaling and rotation all with the one tool. All right, in Lightwave, you can do one or the other, but not all. And also these handles here, I think, are very dim and hard to see sometimes, and they're not very thick. So I don't know if there's a way that they could translate that and make the manipulator icons much more user-friendly and easier to select and whatnot. But let's go ahead and make a bunch of these guys. Let's say that we had a really complex scene with a whole bunch of guys here. All right. Let's say we had that, and we needed to organize this a little bit better. All right, we can. Let's say these guys, I want to see them sometimes, but not other times. These little chip marks here means that there's layers here in what amounts to Blender's layout. So we can move these guys to a different layer, and as you can see, we can swap between these layers, or we can show them all at once. And it's a really great way to organize your scene. And also, you can, it would be nice if layout had layers inside of it. Right now you can just go into the scene editor and you can hide and show things, but there's no actual layer system. Another good thing would be, let me go in here and edit the motion, would be animation layers. So as you can see here, here's some keyframes, and the only kind of stuff we can do on these keyframes is destructive editing. We can move keyframes, we can delete them. All right, but we can't add to them in a non-destructive manner. And if we had something like in Softimage where they have an animation layer, you could have all these keyframes here, and then you could add a layer on top. So once you have the motion moving the way you wanted, which is not the way these guys are doing, okay? Once you had, for example, this motion here, the way you wanted it, this walk motion, you could, let's say you had that walk motion the way you wanted, but you wanted to experiment with the way these spikes on the top of his back are moving. You could add an animation layer, and then you could go ahead and non-destructively animate that. That would be really useful, and I really hope they could implement something like that. Anyway, I hope Newtek, if you guys are out there listening, I hope you can see some of my concerns and address them in future versions of the software.